Welcome! In this explainer, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to take a bunch of real-world test-taking mistakes and actually build a playbook from them, one that can turn those common errors into your biggest advantage, especially if you're staring down something like medical boards or any other high-stakes exam.
So let's just start with a feeling we all know, right? That pit in your stomach when you're looking over your results and you see a question you got wrong and you knew it. You absolutely knew the answer. It is so frustrating and it feels like you just didn't know enough. But what if that's not the problem at all?
It turns out, more often than not, those maddening little mistakes have less to do with your knowledge base and everything to do with your strategy, or lack thereof. So we dug into a whole list of these common errors, and we're going to build a really clear, actionable playbook right now out of all that chaos.
Okay, let's dive right in. The first and most critical area, how you actually read and break down the question itself. Seriously, this is where the game is so often won or lost before you even glance at the answer choices.
And listen to this. This is a direct quote from a test taker, and it just hits the nail on the head. That huge wall of text in the question, it isn't just there to give you facts. A lot of the time, its purpose is literally to make you overthink, to send you down a rabbit hole before you even know what you're being asked.
So the trick is to completely flip your approach. You've got to reverse engineer the question. Step 1, read the very last sentence first. That's the actual question. Step 2, quickly scan the answers. This gives your brain the context it needs. Then and only then do you read the whole long paragraph. Now you're not just wandering through details, you're actively hunting for the specific clues you need. Think about a classic ectopic pregnancy question. If you already know they're going to ask for the location, you'll spot it in a second and all the other details just become noise.
All right, so you've decoded the question. You know what they're asking. Now the next battle begins. The answer choices themselves. And success here isn't just about spotting a right answer. It's about being a master at eliminating the wrong ones and, crucially, knowing the difference between what's technically possible and what's actually probable.
This piece of wisdom is gold. It came from a mistake where someone chose ovarian cancer over polycystic ovary syndrome, or PCO. Now, sure, was ovarian cancer technically possible? Maybe, but the clinical picture was screaming PCO. These big exams want the most common, most likely diagnosis. It's that old saying, when you hear hoofbeats, you gotta think horses, not zebras.
And this slide really breaks down that mental fight that happens with almost every single question. You've got the high probability answer that just fits the data, and then you've got that tempting, exotic, but way less likely option. Your job, especially under pressure, is to train your brain to consistently land on the most common, most correct side. And here's a pro tip we pulled from the data. If you are ever stuck between two answer choices and they both seem completely, totally right, just stop. Take a breath. There's a super high chance that they are both distractors. It's a trick. It's a sign from the test gods that you've probably missed the real point of the question and you need to go back and look at that stem again. Okay, next up, let's talk about the bedrock principles of all this. There are certain, let's call them golden rules, or clinical algorithms that you simply have to trust. You have to follow them, even when your brain, under all that exam pressure, is screaming at you to get creative or second-guess the fundamentals.
These are the rules you just have to burn into your brain. For instance, if you suspect EBV, you start with blood work, right? You don't jump straight to a biopsy. In a trauma situation, you stabilize the patient first, then you figure out what's going on. And hey, that seizure that was mentioned in passing from 2 days ago, yeah, that's still relevant. These rules are your safety net. Don't get the stress of the exam convince you to ignore them.
This next piece is huge. It's all about the internal game, the psychology of test taking. Because honestly, how you manage your own brain under pressure is every bit as important as all the knowledge you walked in with. This quote right here, it perfectly captures that moment when a test taker starts fighting the information they're given. In this real example, the question described a grieving patient, but the test taker started inventing this whole new story about the patient being misled. The lesson here is so simple but so important. Trust the data in the question. Your job is to solve the puzzle they gave you, not create a brand new one.
Okay, here's a massive red flag to watch out for in your answer choices. These exams are built to test your ability to take action. So any answer that boils down to, let's just wait and see, like a wait for results, is almost always a trap. In an acute situation, like a suspected case of necrotizing fasciitis, waiting is the absolute worst thing you can do. They want to see that you know how to be decisive.
You've got to be on the lookout for these mental traps.
When some weird new question format pops up like a prescription order, don't panic. It's designed to test your cool. Don't let one super hard question throw you off for the next 5. And when you're getting tired, fight that urge to just jam a square peg into a round hole and force an answer that doesn't really fit. Just knowing these pitfalls exist is half the battle.
All right, let's bring this all together. We've talked about decoding the question, winning the elimination game, and mastering your mindset. Now, let's synthesize all of that into a super simple, easy-to-use playbook that you can start practicing with, like, today.
So here it is, your 4-point playbook. This is more than just a list of tips. It is a full-on strategy built from analyzing real mistakes. You attack the question methodically. You win the elimination game by choosing horses, not zebras. You trust the fundamental rules, and you avoid those psychological traps. This is how you turn painful errors into a winning formula.
And that brings us to the final thought. At the end of the day, your most powerful tool is self-awareness. So look at this playbook and ask yourself, honestly, which one of these is my kryptonite? Is it overthinking the question? Is it always going for the exotic diagnosis? By figuring out your personal pitfall, you stop being a passive test taker. You take control, and that changes everything.